running?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, welcome to STEPK Yoga, and my name is Charles. I'm leading tonight, and we're going to be paying attention to exercises that are related to improving our tree pose, and also some practical work on being able to stand and sit and pick up things. Okay, got another person here. Yay! And welcome. So, uh, so we'll be doing some work on tree pose and getting into and out of the pose and helping with our balance, and also some sitting and standing, and a little bit of other movement. So basic movements, everyday movements. And the intention here is that by examining those a little more closely, that's really going to help the practice when we actually have to do these tree pose routines or any other balancing that you do during the day. So that'll be roughly the first half of what we do, and then I'll just we'll kind of free form and do some whatever stretches strike me after that, and then of course go right into Shavasana. So first, just coming down into your nice seated position, and hands where they're comfortable, and just breathe. Notice your breathing, and when your mind wanders, just notice that, and very kindly bring yourself back to breathing. It's not a mistake that your mind wanders. And now let's look at some of the breathing technique. So my current visualization for this is as a water balloon. And when you fill a water balloon, the balloon expands in all directions. So imagine when you're breathing in that and feel your lower body expanding in all directions. Your back goes backward, your front goes forward. That is the diaphragm pushing down and the internal organs needing to make some space. So that means your back, your lower back muscles need to be relaxed in order to get that expansion. Your side needs to be relaxed. You might put your hands on your lower back and feel that happening as you inhale. And likewise, as this travels up your upper torso, your back expands and your sides expand and your chest expands. All of that expands out in all directions at once, creating all of that space for your lungs to occupy. So when we breathe in, we create space for the lungs to expand. And when we breathe out, we compress the lungs again. How does breathing like that move you? And finally, there's a couple of different general ways that we can breathe that will trigger our nervous system differently. So we can do slower breathing, and that will trigger um, the the rest and digest system, or we can breathe more quickly and actually trigger the fight, flight, freeze, faint system. So let's do the nicer one, and this will be a 4, 5, 6. This is actually pretty nice. So you breathe into your own count of 4, roughly 4 seconds. You wait at the top, not holding your breath. Don't close your throat. Just hover there for a count of 5. And then exhale through the mouth to a count of 6. And when you do this, especially on the exhale, even on the inhale, make as little noise as you can. So when I do this, I put my tongue at the tip of when I breathe out, I put my tongue at the tip of my lower teeth and get my tongue out of the way of my throat. And I have to control my exhale a little bit to get to the full 6 count. So that's in for 4, wait for 5, out for 6. If you check out various breathing routines, you'll see that there's a tendency for the breathing to be longer on the exhale than the inhale. Although sometimes it's equal, there's different numbers. It'll be in of 4, out of 5, and in of 4, a wait of 7, and exhale of 8. I'm not convinced yet that there's any real research that's been done on if there's any difference between those. I think it's mostly paying attention and engaging the parasympathetic nervous system response. What I like about the 4, 5, 6 is that that's exactly 15 seconds. So if you do 4 of those, you've done a minute. All right. So before we get to tree pose, let's do bring hands to heart center and do a nice inhale, raising the arms overhead as much as you comfortably can. So maybe you only get up partway, and that's fine for today. In fact, I'm only going to go up partway in solidarity with my wife. So my hands are right in front of my face. And then, whether your hands are up, all the way up, or in front of your face, turn the palms so they go out. That will naturally bring your shoulder blades back. So if your hands are up, that'll turn the arms in their socket and bring the shoulder blades, the trapezius muscles closer together. Likewise, if they're in front, you just come like so. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. And back to heart center. Okay, rise up. Turn out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Hands to heart center. Hands up. Turn out. Pay attention to your neck. Look to the right. Look to the left. Look to the front. And back to heart center. One more time, hands up. Turn the palms out. And this time, rotate your waist to the left, not too far. Breathe in, breathe out. Rotate through and to the right. Breathe in and out. Come back to center and hands to heart center. Okay, so make your way to a standing position, however you desire, and get your chair if you have one. Good solid back, high back chair is nice. And keep that handy. Take a little water break if you want. I need to. I'm recovering from a cold just like Stephanie is. I have trouble with tree pose. I have trouble with balance. And that might seem amazing since I've got decades of fencing and karate background. But I'm really challenged with balance for some reason. So I'm going to be showing you some of the exercises that have been helping me with my balance. And the first is just stand. Stand with your legs directly beneath your hips. I tend to go a little bit wide. That's part of the martial arts background and training. But this is an overcompensation for being stable. If I bring my feet close together, then my joints are stacked. My feet will be slightly turned out, okay? We don't want to have our feet directly forward. That's not natural, typically, for most people. If you want to find out what's natural, just take a little jump and then come back down. Try to relax your feet on the way up. The way you land, that's pretty much your stance for how you normally stand. So just standing here, pay attention to your knees and your feet and your hips. Feel the ground beneath your feet. In yoga, they talk about the four corners of the feet. I don't actually like that very much because really our feet are designed, the bone structure is a triangle, and that's plenty to make a plane. What matters is feeling your entire sole of your foot. So go ahead and move your feet around a little bit. Just kind of move them and notice where the balls of the feet are, where the toes are, where the heel is. When you rotate out, when do you get to the edge? When you rotate in, what does that feel like? Try gripping with your toes. Just grip into the ground. What does that feel like? And then completely relax. What does it feel like to lift your toes off of the ground without lifting the rest of your feet off? When you were paying attention to that, what happened to your hips? And what happened to your shoulders? Did they tighten up? If so, how does it feel just to relax them a little bit? Are you breathing like a water balloon? So now, let's just do a little sway from left to right. Just a little sway. And importantly, don't look at your feet. Just look forward. But feel your feet. Feel the position of the hips over them. Are you holding your arms in tight? Or are they nice and loose? Maybe when you go to one side, the arm just kind of floats. Notice the weight transfer. As you move to one side, or the other. At what point do you feel like you could just lift the foot off? Don't do it. Just when do you feel like you could? And now the first game. So come back to center. Just stand. And close your eyes. And sway to your left until you think that your foot is directly underneath you. It's exactly in the center line of your body. And when you think it's there, open your eyes and look down and see if it really is. I'm about 2 inches off. If I'm intending to have the center of my foot really be directly below the center of my body. So come back to center. Try that on the other side. Sway over there with your eyes closed. Notice how your feet feel, your foot feels, that right foot. And when you think you're at the center, take a look. See if it's true. I did better on that side. We'll do the same thing going to the left. This time, in addition to noticing when you're at the center, also pay attention to whether or not your foot is moving or how it's moving as you go. Do you lift your foot in one direction? Do you take it to the outside edge or to the inside edge? If so, maybe it's more comfortable to keep it nice and flat, taking up as much surface area as it can as you come and sway over until it's directly beneath you. And you look down, and there it is, pretty much in the center. And now sway to the right. Same thing. Keep that sense of the entire surface of the foot, as much surface area as you can have, until you're all the way over, centered up, look down, and there you are. My experience so far is that people really shortchange how far over they have to go for the foot to be directly below them. And yet in tree pose, that's where our foot has to be. So now we'll go over the left, and the chair is there to grab onto if you think you're going to fall. I should have said that earlier. So now we'll go all the way over to that left side. Foot is directly below our center line, and just bring your right foot over. You're not coming off the ground yet. You're just going to bring it over. And get a feel for what that is. Just feel yourself directly over that left foot. As much surface area as you can have. Breathe. And you feel like, I could lift my foot. I'm not going to yet. Now take your right foot back over where it was. Sway over to it. Check in, are you directly over? And if you are, just bring that left foot over. And feel yourself, feel that foot directly below you, the trunk of the tree. So it's an interesting posture, isn't it? The leg isn't straight. Your right leg right now is angled. It has to be. And now come back into your natural stance. Sway to the left. Get centered, bring your right foot over. And from this position, look to the left, look to the front, look to the right, to the front. Back to neutral stance. Sway to the right. Feel the center, bring your left foot over. And look to the right. Check in. Is your shoulder tense or are they relaxed? To the front, to the left, to the front. Back to neutral. And the moment we've been waiting for is actually bringing that foot off the ground this time. So sway to the left. Foot directly beneath you. Feel it. See it in your mind. Bring that right foot over. And instead of bringing it up into a tree pose, just put it on top of, roughly, on top of your left foot. You may find yourself wobbling, but remember that foot is directly beneath you, and look, find the most surface area. When you've had enough, go back to neutral. Sway to the right. Center the foot. Full surface area. Left foot comes in and on top of the right foot. Gently feeling that balance kick in. Make your adjustments. Back to neutral. Okay, we're going to do one or two more exercises. This one I definitely want you to have the chair available to you. It's probably better to put it in front of you because that way, no matter which direction you're swaying, if things go haywire, you can just reach a hand out and grab it. So for this one, sway to the left, full surface area, foot directly beneath, right foot comes over, gently bring it on top of the left foot, find your balance, look forward. Oh, you know what? Let's start this one again. Pardon me. Come back to neutral. So we're going to talk about drishti. We're going to talk about our focal points. So what's going to be happening is I'm actually going to have you in the balance position and also looking to the left, to the right, and to the front. So right now, choose a focal point that's in front of you and that's to your left and that's to your right. Those are the places you're going to look when we're in balance. The challenge here is the actual movement of the head. And I'm going to give you the clue up front. Pay attention and keep the awareness simultaneously of the foot that's on the ground and your neck as it moves. Keep both of those in your mind. Pay attention to both, and that'll help with the turn. It'll help coordinate that. Okay, so here we go. Sway to the left. Foot is centered. Full surface area. Bring the right foot over. Smoothly put it on top of the left foot. Find your balance. And keep that chair available. Look to the left. Front. right. If you lose your balance, just take your time and regain, and to the front again. And come back to neutral. I'm going to make a guess that that was challenging. And the reason that's challenging is because of that movement of the head. That means you have to have your coordination and your proprioception, your awareness of your body in space. But this is what we're doing all the time when we move. We're always turning our bodies. So if we practice this, our tree pose gets easier, and when we move, we're more likely to be in balance. So, sway to the right. Full surface area. Left foot comes over and on top. Find your balance. You can grip the floor if you want. Pay attention to your neck and shoulders and your foot at the same time. Gently look to the right, front, left, front, and come down. I almost made it. That's all we're going to do. But you can see how that builds up into tree pose to here. Because now I know that my foot is directly underneath me. Sure as anything, the first time you see people try to do tree pose or any of these standing balances, this is what happens. Okay? And that's because they're trying to keep their legs straight. That's the trunk of the tree, and they're moving the upper part of the tree to compensate. Normally I would ask if there's any questions, but you're muted, so you can't talk. You can ask me you can tell me if there's any questions afterward. But hopefully that will help. And I think that if you practice this a little bit each day, where you also look in different directions, you're going to find your balance improve dramatically. Even just 2 minutes, which is all it takes to do that. And I know that it's going to help the tree pose. All right, so on to the next thing. Pardon me. And this is variations on chair pose. If you're able to actually bend down and pick something up by bending your knees, then you can practice that. If not, then you can practice sitting, because the motion is going to be the same. So mechanically, what do we want to do in tree pose, in chair pose? Let me talk you through this at the same time that you're doing it. Find yourself facing whichever direction you need to face, and take your hands, put them behind your thighs, bend your knees a little bit, and just push. Push so the knees go forward, just like this. Okay? The knees go forward, the lower back lengthens, and I just kind of sink down, just like this. So the opposite of that a lot of people will do, and we all do this, I do this certainly every day, is to do this, right? They'll actually curl their lower back, keep the knees right where they are, and do this. This is really hard on the lower back. This curve right here is really rough. Even if I straighten that out, it's still kind of rough, because now my balance is all kind of wacky. So if I stand up here and I take the knees forward and let the lower back lengthen, now the strength of my legs is supporting me, and I'm much more stacked with my spine. See that? So with the chair right here, if I want to sit in this chair, here's the way that most people do it, and sure as anything, you're gonna catch yourself doing this later on tonight, is this. See that reach back? I reached back because I wanted to get to the end, okay? Instead, this would be the other way to do it. The knees go forward, I drop down, and I get to the edge, and then I scoot back. Nothing wrong with that. I don't have to get all the way to the back on the first try. And if I want to get back up again, it's like that. So if you've got your chair available, let's just do that for a little bit. I'm about a foot length away from my chair, so I know that my butt's going to hit the edge. Okay. If you want to be back further, that's fine. In fact, if anything, if you're standing here and your legs are right against the chair, then you're going to know if you take your knees forward and away. So knees go forward and away. Lower back lengthens. Arms are just dangling. You can have them out if you want. And then just come right down to the sit. Okay. Rock slightly forward. And push up. Okay. One more time. Knees go forward. Go ahead and put your hands there if you want to remind yourself. Knees go forward. That lower back lengthens, coming down to sit. How's your neck and shoulders on that? Tight? Floating. And standing up. That's a really easy thing to practice. Because we sit and stand a lot. And if you practice it without the chair, that can be a really ferocious thigh exercise, quadriceps exercise. Okay? Just guard against this. None of that. Now let's move that into this to the picking things up. Everyday movement, picking something up off the floor. I'll do my water bottle. Here's the rule of thumb for you for doing safe lifting. And chair pose in yoga is really good for learning this. The basic rule of thumb for me, shoulders are always higher than the hips. And I should always be bending my knees. So here's the way a lot of people will pick up something like that. Okay? What are the problems with this? The lower back is doing exactly what it's not evolved to do. It's trying to lift. My legs are straight. I'm off balance. There's just a lot wrong with this. And if I try to lift something heavy, I'm using all the wrong muscles to do that. And in my case, I didn't have my abs engaged. Instead, I want to come down like this. Exactly the way we were doing before. Coming down. Legs further apart if I need to, if I'm picking up a box, for example. I'm coming down into that squat. Now, as I get down to this position, that's when there's a tendency to kick my butt out, right? Keep that length and this straightness, this stacking of the back. Even here, you can see that line that exists. I'm not here, okay? And what do I look like right now? A baby, right? Or a toddler. I look like a toddler. Because this is the way, when you watch toddlers, they come down. When they come down to the ground, they do it this way. And when they stand up, they grab their bottle and they come up like that. We learn to do this. So just try that. And again, if you can't go all the way down, that's fine. You can put something on your chair and just come down like so and pick it up. So when everybody says, when you hear lift from the knees, or lift from the legs, this is what they're talking about. You got to come down, keep your shoulders above your hips so that you can then Engage your legs all the way up. This is going to give you strong legs for sure. This is good practice. And we're going to actually I'm going to do one more small exercise for you, just for fun, and then we're going to get into Shavasana. So this is a directional exercise. And the application in yoga for this is recognizing that the knee has direction. So if we're in these warrior poses, where's the knee? And when I need to transfer, when I need to transition, how do I transition my knees to be going the correct direction? Feet are forward. We're just in that natural stance. And if you can lift your hands all the way over your head, that's great. If you can only bring them up here, that's fine too, because that's really not the point of this. You can just keep your left arms down if you feel like it. What matters is what's going to happen with the feet. So raise the arms up and bring it down. Now look to your left and point your toe, pick up your foot, pivot on the heel, and rotate so your knee and your toes are pointed to the left. And hands up and down. Pivot on the heel again so you come back to the front. Hands up and down. Look to the right, pivot on the right heel. Knee is facing to the right. Turn on the waist, up and down. To the front, up, down. To left, pivot the heel, up, down. To the front, up, down. Look before you go. So it's look, pivot, move. Look, pivot, move. Look, pivot, move. This is strong knees. Just keep flowing through this. Especially you'll notice it when you go to the right. This is the way to turn to the right. If you're going to pick something up that's on your right, how often do we just twist? Don't just twist. Turn so that your knee is nice and strong. One more. And coming to the front. Go ahead and on your own, just find your way gently to the ground and lie on your back so that you are in your preferred Shavasana. Pardon me. And as you get settled, the current science that I know of on the brain shows in scans a marked difference between our wandering mind, and the wandering mind is our default. Our default mind, our default thinking is wandering, thinking about the past and the future. And we settle into that wandering mind, that default neural network very, very quickly. Our task mind, which we aim for in meditation, is very concerned with the present. It's very aware of what's going on right now. And that is more difficult. It takes effort. Our brains really aren't evolved to do that easily. But the benefits, according to the science, is that when people are in task mind, when they practice being mindful, that they actually are happier. And we spend roughly 40% of our time in wandering mind and 30 to 40, I guess, in task mind, and then the rest of it is maybe in between. Again, the brain scans, different parts of the brain are activated when people are in wandering mind and task mind, with only a very little bit of overlap. So when you hear meditation practice, and now that you're in your Shavasana, go ahead and start your breathing. When you hear meditation instruction that says, notice if your mind has wandered and come back to your breathing, the breathing is the task. The breathing is what you're paying attention to. And they often now will say, this is what minds do. They wander. I don't think that they didn't used to say that. I don't remember that. But you hear it a lot more now. So, for the next couple of minutes, find your breathing, pay attention to your breathing, return to your breathing. Be here, now. Start moving around a little bit. And over the next 30 seconds or so, make your way to your side and push up and come up to seated. Give yourself 45 seconds. You deserve it. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.